Hello and welcome to the Random Wrestling Review, and this is our local to global series. We're already at the point where the show that we are about to bring you is going to happen this day. It is, of course, Batista versus Storm 3, the big show that we've been building to now for the last couple of weeks since our previous show. What happened there? Well, let's just take a quick look. This was Battle for Respect, of course. In the main event, Ace Steel and Barry Buchanan overcame Batista and CM Punk in tag team action, with Punk making the save after the match when Steel and Buchanan attacked Batista, effectively answering anyway, the question that was put to him by Ace Steel, which was whether or not he was going to join the rebellion. You remember that despite the fact that Steel had cost Punk the title in the previous show, the Iron Circus, um, Steele said that the offer was still open to Punk, and he told him to consider what might have been. And of course, Punk decided to reject that advance, officially marking his babyface turn. So we are now going to do Batista versus Storm 3. Storm, of course, the number one contender in the rankings. Here they are as they stand. Dave Batista with 55 matches in the company now. Of those, 17 points as champion. James Storm with 13 points, Billy Kidman with 11, Sean Stasiak, Chris Harris, Rex King, Charlie Haas, all with 10. So all kinds of wrestlers kind of up there near the top of the rankings, albeit Charlie Haas, of course, injured at the moment, will be out till at least March. We got Ace Steel on eight wins, 8 points, Teddy Hart, Barry Buchanan, C.W. Anderson on 7, Chemo on 5, Keith Hart on 4, Eric Young on 2, and then 5 men with 0 points. That's Bobby Walker, Jim Neidhart, Mark Henry, CM Punk, Buddy Wayne, all on 0. You'll remember in the last episode we brought in the Bobby Walker, but unfortunately we forgot to turn him to a babyface. So we'll have to execute that somehow in this next show, in a way to fulfill the game kind of mechanics as opposed to actually turning him babyface. Because in this pretend world that we run, we're pretending that Walker was already set to babyface. So anyway, we go into our next show, Batista versus Storm 3. And let's just have a quick look at that. Actually, I did want to sort of take a look, because there've been 3. This is the third key match between Batista and James Storm, but I wondered if they'd had any other matches with one another than the ones we are specifically referencing in the show's title. So let's have a look. So you can see down here, in fact, the first match was the one between the Shadow and Dave Batista at the Matrix, which was when Dave Batista was champion. And this count-out victory of the Shadow, you'll remember, resulted in a triple threat match between the Shadow, Dave Batista, and Ace Steel, in which the Shadow won the title, a 3-way forever, by pinning Ace Steel. So Batista was never actually defeated by the Shadow in this one. And then their rematch was at last year's Seasons Beatings, when Dave Batista defeated the Shadow in a match where the Shadow would have to take off his mask if Batista won, and that was what led to James Storm being revealed as the Shadow after all this time. So those are the only 2 singles matches they've had in their entire long run with the company. So this being the third match in the title of the show is also accurate in terms of actually what's happened. So that's a fun additional thing. Now we're kicking off the show with CM Punk, Eric Young, and C.W. Anderson against Ace Steel, Barry Buchanan, and Chemo. This is mainly just to keep the Punk and Steel feud kind of ongoing, and also to give Ace Steel a victory. Well, not really to give Ace Steel a victory. It is entirely to keep the Ace Steel CM Punk feud going. But Ace Steel's going to win it, and he's going to pin Eric Young, who's pretty much the jobber babyface at this moment in time. Not to say that that will remain the case forever. We're going to work the crowd with this one as well, I think. So that's going to be the opening match of the night. Straight after the match, following their defeat, though, CM Punk is going to grab the mic and he's going to tell Ace Steel that he was focused on the title. Now he's focused on taking Steel down. So that's where we are with this kind of feud now. CM Punk delivering a bit of a promo on Ace Steel as Ace Steel looks on, having won the match, of course. The second match of the night sees Chris Harris take on Jim Neidhart. So obviously Chris Harris, the tag team partner of James Storm, and James Storm has been a thorn in the side of Bruce Hart. So this has been booked effectively in mind with Chris Harris. You know, the Hart family almost looking to get some manner of revenge on Chris Harris. Chris Harris, though, is going to win. We'll have that one by pinfall, I think, but we will keep Jim Neidhart strong. This will be the third loss for Jim Neidhart, so we're really taking any shine off of Jim Neidhart that he might have had prior to coming to the Random Wrestling Review. But that's just the way it goes. After the match, Chris Harris is going to be approached by Jim Neidhart. Approaches Harris and shakes his hand, showing respect. Who knows what that's about, but that's what we're doing with this particular one. Then we've got Shawn Stasiak against Teddy Hart in the third match of the night. And this is not going to be a particularly long one. Actually, we'll keep it 9 minutes because I think Teddy Hart's a little better than he was sort of this time last year. He's higher up the rankings, but Shawn Stasiak gets the victory in this one. And another angle straight after, so plenty of angles on this show. Shawn Stasiak references Dave Batista, references the fact that he is now the number one contender, or at least the joint number one contender, and is basically Batista's moment of reckoning is coming. So Stasiak tells Batista his moment of reckoning is coming. This is obviously following the long build to Shawn Stasiak's heel turn that we had some time ago now. I can't even remember how long ago it was. I think it was back in March. Was it here? Yes. So he originally started building towards becoming a heel all the way back in July of '99, maybe even before that, maybe even March '99. It was a long, long time. He then turned heel finally in February, and we have been building towards a potential Stasiak Batista match ever since. And now Stasiak is effectively in the position to be the number one contender. He will be on the joint number one contender with Billy Kidman and with Chris Harris. But for the purposes of our kind of universe, if you like, the world in which this company occupies, he's going to be the number one contender. Of course, that's if Dave Batista can get through his match with James Storm in the main event of this show. And there's no guarantees with that. That's to come in just a minute. But next up, it's a tag team confrontation. It sees Buddy Wayne and Bobby Walker go up against Billy Kidman and Rex King. We're going to have this one be 12 minutes. We're going to have this one be a storytelling match. We're going to have Buddy Wayne pin Rex King here. Pinfall finish. I think we'll try to do the turn. It is about the problem with this is it's kind of like, I don't know if it really works in this situation. So we'll leave it at that. We won't do that right now. I think we'll save the mechanics of the turn for maybe the next show. There's no way for me to. What I want to do is have this is a thing. I don't even know if they've got it on TEW9 because obviously this is TEW2020 I'm playing here. But what they don't have on this game, at least, is anything where one partner abandons the other, which is frustrating. But that's what's going to happen here, is that basically, fact, let's just do that. That's fine. But Billy Kidman's going to turn on Rex King. He's not actually going to turn on him. He's just going to abandon him. But I wanted something to show that Kidman was going to walk out on Rex King here. So Kidman basically refusing to get in the ring with Buddy Wayne, his former mentor, who he turned on a few weeks back, kind of abandons Rex King because he's fearful of getting in the ring with Buddy Wayne. And then the title match, which we'll see the champion Dave Batista against James Storm, a match I think could be very good. They're both really over, super popular wrestlers. Batista is going to win. It's going to be an open match, pinfall finish, an outside interference finish here. Bruce Hart is going to effectively save Batista's title. He's going to do it behind Batista's back, so Batista's not even aware of it as it's happening. And that's going to be our match. Do I want to do it slow build? Not sure. I don't think we need to. I think these two can do 15 minutes without getting too tired. So Dave Batista versus James Storm. Let's have a look at the booking analysis. We're all fine in terms of that. No real problems there. We're not going to be using Mark Henry or Keith Hart. But the fact that we're using Jim Neidhart means that we're going to be spending a lot of money on talent. What I might just do here, this is what I'll do. After the match, after the penultimate match, I'm going to have, what we're going to do here, we're just going to have, I don't know, charisma. Let's have charisma, and we'll have Bobby Walker turn in this one. This will be how we fulfill that game mechanic, which is that Bobby Walker needs to be a babyface. And the angle is just after the match, Buddy Wayne and Bobby Walker celebrate in the ring. So that's just a way for us to turn Bobby Walker. That's all that exists for. And so Dave Batista's going to win the main event against James Storm, albeit with the help of Bruce Hart. Not that he knows about it, but Bruce Hart, so desperate is he to not allow James Storm to win the Northwest title that he interferes to prevent it from happening. So let's just check one more time. I think we're good on the booking analysis. We are good in terms of that not being penalized. So let's go to this show. Oh, I just pressed the wrong button. And in front of 161 people at the Marshall Center, we really are now getting some big attendances. That, I think, is almost as big as the first free show we did. It might even be bigger, I'm not sure. We open with CM Punk, Eric Young, and C.W. Anderson against the Rebellion, Ace Steel, Barry Buchanan, and Chemo. And the Rebellion win this one, as you'd expect from the trio that have been together for some time now. In 12:23, when Ace Steel pins Eric Young, who was also the weak link, struggling to keep up with everyone else's performance, but a 27 rating is not bad, given where we've been in the past on occasions. Punk only a 47 this time, Chemo 47, but Punk continued to be very consistent. Ace Steel a 39, Barry Buchanan a 38, C.W. Anderson a 36. Pretty good performances all around for a segment rating of 43. Then after the match, CM Punk picks up the microphone as Ace Steel, Barry Buchanan, and Chemo are just about to leave the ringside area. Punk tells them that he was previously focused on going after the title. That was his singular focus. He didn't have any interest in anything else. But now that Ace Steel has prevented him from winning that title and taken that opportunity away from him, there's only one thing he's focused on, and that is bringing down Ace Steel. For a segment rating of 50, CM Punk's performance was really good. Worked the crowd well. He's just very, very good, as you'd expect. I mean, you know, he is CM Punk after all, one of the best performers of the last 25 years, and he was just great here as per usual. And then Chris Harris defeated Jim Neidhart in 9:48 by pinfall in a match that went for a segment rating of 54. Jim Neidhart's popularity has really brought some quality to our promotion. We are using him maybe a little bit more regularly than I expected at one point, but certainly here, very worth it, especially as he's giving, real credibility enhancing victories to his opponents. And in this case, Chris Harris got the benefit of that by winning this one. So a very nice match. And after the match, Jim Neidhart walks up to Chris Harris, seemingly to continue the fight, but then offers him his hand in respect, and the two shake hands reluctantly for a segment rating of 46. And respect shown from Jim Neidhart to one of his family's big sort of enemies at this moment in time. Then we had Shawn Stasiak versus Teddy Hart, with Shawn Stasiak winning in 9 minutes 15 seconds by pinfall. An in-ring performance from Stasiak of 46, Teddy Hart of 34 for a segment rating of 45. Very, very nice indeed. All good matches so far this evening. And then after the match, Shawn Stasiak basically says that with that win, he now has 11 points in the ranking system. And having got this far, he knows that he's well in line for a title shot, and he tells Dave Batista that he's been building to this moment since they last had a match against one another over a year ago, and he now is ready, and it's time for Dave Batista's moment of reckoning. This feud where Batista's been taking on Mark Henry and Shawn Stasiak all year seems to be coming to a head in the next week or two. Then we had the tag team match, which was actually the worst match of the night so far. Buddy Wayne and Bobby Walker defeat Billy Kidman and Rex King in 12:29 when Buddy Wayne pinned Rex King. During the match, we also had Rex King turn on Kidman. So again, don't read that as quite as literal as that. Billy Kidman basically walked out on Rex King because he was scared of getting in the ring with Buddy Wayne, so he retreated effectively to the back. Bobby Walker here just a 20 in ring performance. Buddy Wayne of 41, Rex King of 37, Billy Kidman of 36. Everyone else was pretty good. But unfortunately, the hints at a Bobby Walker face turn completely bombed with the crowd who remember his very recent turn. I mean, obviously, he didn't recently turn. He just recently debuted, and the game sees that as a turn. And as I said, this isn't really a turn. This is just me fixing my own mistake earlier in the game. So after the match, Buddy Wayne and Bobby Walker have their celebration. We've turned Bobby Walker now, and segment rating here of 38 as Bobby Walker and Buddy Wayne have won this match. So we go to the main event, and what a main event it is. Dave Batista defeats James Storm in 15 minutes 29 seconds by pinfall following interference from Bruce Hart. Dave Batista makes defense number 6 of the Northwest title. That's actually 16 defenses in his career, which is way, way more than anybody else. Obviously, he's the only 2-time RWR Northwest champion as it stands. A segment rating of 51. What a match. James Storm 49, Batista 40. James Storm used subtle mannerisms to hint at a future face turn, and women did some good work at ringside as well. As I said, a segment rating of 51 is absolutely one of the best matches in company history. And the way this match ends is that James Storm effectively seems to have the match won until a referee gets distracted by Bruce Hart, who's come to ringside. James Storm goes over to argue with Bruce Hart, and the referee basically takes James Storm away. Meanwhile, Dave Batista sort of rolls to the outside, trying to get away from the man, trying to pin him. And then in the meantime, and then with the referee going to tend to Batista, Bruce Hart gets in the ring, decks James Storm with a steel chair, and Batista is able to get back in the ring and then get the victory. So Batista retains, but he got Bruce Hart's help despite not knowing about Bruce Hart's help. And that is the end of the show. We're not going to address the James Storm turn yet because we obviously have set him to turn face. An overall rating of 50, a fantastic match with a great main event. Dave Batista, James Storm, a fantastic event, I should say, with a great main event. Dave Batista, James Storm's main event was 51. We also had the 45 rated Stasiak versus Teddy Hart, 54 rated from Chris Harris and Jim Neidhart. And the opening 6-man was a 43 rated match. Other than the Buddy Wayne, Bobby Walker, Billy Kidman, Rex King match, this was great stuff across the board. And I think we're going to give Jim Neidhart and point him out as a good example. I think we'll give Chris Harris a compliment on his performance. And I think the best other performing wrestler of the night, I think it has to go to James Storm, who was very, very good indeed. So they get the benefit of the praise and the motivation from me for this particular event. And that was another really really successful show. We've gone to the rankings, which we don't want to do just yet. Let's look at the top 100s then. This was the best event in our history, a 50 rated show, which is 3 clear points above Iron Circus from October. So this was really, really very, very special indeed. The top 100 matches where you can see James Storm, Chris Harris and Jim Neidhart's match was the 3rd best match in history, and Dave Batista versus James Storm was the 6th best match in history. Is there anything else on this top uh, screen? No, but 21st, Sean Stasiak and Teddy Hart's match, a 45 rating there. And I'm assuming that the 6-man tag match will be somewhere as well, although I can't see it right this minute. Yes, there it is, 43rd best match of all time. So some amazing, amazing matches in that show. In terms of attendances, well, Batista versus Storm 3 was actually, it was just one lower than Battle for Respect, which was our November show. But all 3 of these last shows have beaten the first, in fact, last 4 of our most recent shows have beaten the first free show we did, which was back in 1999. So we're now hovering around the 160 mark in terms of paid attendance. And I think we're going to have a free show at the end of the year as well, which might take us up above 216. In fact, I'd expect it to. I'm assuming we're still at 20, but that's fine as well. And then in terms of titles, the Northwest title belt, Dave Batista. Let's just track the prestige here. It's gone up 3 in a year, which is obviously quite slow moving, but that's fine. And you can see here, Batista now has defeated, first of all, beat Ace Steel to win the title, then retained it against Chemo, Mark Henry, Buddy Wayne, Mark Henry a second time, obviously at the luck of the draw, CM Punk, and then James Storm. And our next show is Seasons Beatings, which is the big one of the year, or certainly of the period, is the Christmas special event. And going back to the rankings now, obviously James Storm will move to the bottom of these rankings with Sean Stasiak on 11, Kidman on 11, and Chris Harris on 11. But it's going to be Stasiak who's given the title shot at Seasons Beatings to face Dave Batista. We're also going to have Buddy Wayne versus Billy Kidman, CM Punk versus Ace Steel. This is going to be a pretty big match. Not forgetting also we've got Keith Hart's retirement match on top of that. We'll also find something for the Mavericks to do. So it's going to be a pretty big show. I think before we go any further, though, let's just move to the end of the current month and see how we're doing financially, because we've got some time to kill here. And as part of that sort of time to kill, I'm going to have a look at the finances. I'm also going to sign who I think we're going to have face the Mavericks, and with Bruce Hart looking to introduce a pair of wrestlers that he thinks can prize those tag team titles away from the Mavericks. That being due because of the fact that obviously he wants to get the tag team titles off them. And the story continues really with Bruce Hart and James Storm, in that James Storm is preventing himself from being released because he holds one half of the tag team titles with Chris Harris. But that if he was to lose that, Bruce Hart would then presumably instantly give him notice, which would mean he'd have 30 days in the company after that point to go, and then would be out of the company. Doesn't look like there were any major shows that we want to look at anyway at the end of November. So we are into December of 2000. Financially, we lost $1,000 last month. I put that down to largely the presence of Jim Neidhart at that second show. He is just a big outlay of money, and we kind of need to be a bit more sparing, I think, in terms of how we use him. But more ticket sales than we've had, I think, any other month, and merch is going in the right direction. Sponsorship continues to rise, so we're in a good place financially. I'm not worried about that at all. So I think what we're going to do for Seasons Beatings, we wanted to bring in a tag team. Funnily enough, I've clicked on Bad Crew there just randomly. We're not going to be bringing Dog and Rose back to the company, unfortunately, for those people who love them as a sort of kind of I don't know what you would call them, a cult following they've got. But we are bringing back, or we're going to try and bring back, these guys, the Public Enemy. Before I do it, though, I just need to check that their schedule aligns with ours. So they are available Monday week 2 and Monday week 4. So we haven't got a problem there. So yeah, it's the Public Enemy who were the first ever tag team champions. in the company, and we're going to bring Rocco Rock and Johnny Grunge back to the company for, well, just before we go any further, we will just check that he too is available. He's got no bookings in December, apparently. So we'll bring him in as well. These are the two men being brought in by Bruce Hart to be the latest team to challenge the Mavericks for the titles. And let's just remind everybody the Northwest Tag Team titles. The Mavericks, who are the champions right now, have 4 successful defenses under their belt, the most defenses any tag team has had since this championship came into being. Those matches have come against the Hart brothers, Red Alert, Buddy Wayne and Billy Kidman, and Mark Henry and Sean Stasiak, with some really excellent matches as well as part of that run. So we've got 7 days till season's beatings. We've already looked to bring in the next wrestlers, the wrestlers for that show. Let's just check that season's beatings is where we expect it to be. It is Monday, week 2. So I think we're good to go. I'm just going to rename this while I remember. The next of those will be the 6th anniversary show, but that's not for a long time yet. But important for us to remember that this is only the 2nd annual season's beatings. This will be. I don't think there's anything else I need to do. So let's head towards our next player-controlled show. Now, as I said, we're not going to bring you this show today. We probably won't even book it all, but pretty much outlined the card for you. I think it's a pretty big one. I think Buddy Wayne and Billy Kidman's obviously a pretty major match. CM Punk versus Ace Steel is a pretty major match. Batista versus Stasiak for the title is major. Mavericks against Public Enemy. Keith Hart's final match, which is going to be against his nephew Teddy Hart, as you might imagine. Some big things. Some big things are set for season's beatings. So there's Rocco Rocky. I'm just waiting for Johnny Grunge to also join us. And once he does that, we are all set for season's beatings. And we're getting really close now to 2001. I'm looking forward to hopefully getting to the point where we outlast or outlive, rather, WCW and ECW, at least in the real world. I don't know what's going to happen, whether or not there's anything. I don't think there will be, but I'm kind of very, very on the off chance that there is something. I'm kind of hoping for some kind of event in the game which closes one or both of them. Should be really cool. What's this about Medusa and Billy Gunn? Recently started dating. Fascinating stuff. Nothing else of real interest there, I don't think. So yeah, let's go to the next player-controlled show and season's beatings, which is a pretty big deal. Whilst we're waiting to get there, thank you for watching today, by the way, and thank you for everybody who's followed along, who's subscribed to the channel. If you're new to this series, which I doubt you are by this point, we're so far into it that I'd be surprised if anyone new has started watching from this episode. But if you are, and you've got this far, give us a like, give us a subscribe, all of that helps. And also everybody who's still watching this series, please just leave a comment. Let me know how you feel about the series and its onward trajectory. I can reveal that I'm still recording these about nearly 2 months ahead of time, actually. So we really are a long way in the future in terms of when this comes out. And by the time this comes out, I'm hoping there'll be at least another 10 episodes of this podcast. Podcast of this series that will have been recorded and will be ready to go. So, yeah, still I'm hoping a long, long way for this series to go. Let's just check the status of Johnny Grunge. He's a babyface, and Rocco Rock. Let's turn him babyface. They were, after all, baby faces when they were last here, and it's good to have them back. Good to have them back in the company. Although I've selected them both to not be one-off appearances, which was silly. When I signed them, I didn't make them one-off appearances. That was my fault. No big deal though. We'll just release them afterwards. If we feel like it, we may figure out there's something else for them to do after season's meetings. Who knows? And I think what we'll do is we'll bring down the episode at that point rather than moving into the event stage of the day. So yeah, as I said previously, thank you very much for watching. We'll be back in the next episode. We will bring you all of season's beatings, and if we do it quick enough, we may even do the free show that comes after it in the next episode. But until then, thank you very much for watching.